I'm gonna do it like video, but like no image, just the sound of it.
Okay.
Yeah, because I cannot find her voice recording thing. It's not my.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
my phone is full, I can't do it on my computer because it's
I
also
see.
full. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, we can start if you're ready.
Okay. Cool.
For the first question, your name, position, and department.
Well, you've got that. Margene
Yep.
Purinton. And I'm a professor of English. And I'm also affiliated faculty with Women's Studies, so and English. So.
All right. What is your research, creative, or scholarship area of expertise? And what kind of projects are you working on?
I am a British Romanticist, so I work on late 18th, early 19th century British writing. And I'm particularly interested in the drama of the period, drama written by women, drama in which women appear as performers. And so right now I'm working on a couple of larger projects. One is I'm finishing up a book on what I call techno-Gothic Romanticism, British plays that depict grotesque and ghost, the intersection of science and theater in the Romantic period. And then I'm interested in, I've started a new project on Romantic drama and social justice, or Romantic drama and law in some way, in which I'll be working with the legal changes and changes in the policing of British culture during the transition from constables to a professional police force, and the way in which policing and social justice are depicted on the stage.
Awesome. Next question. Well, yes, I know the answer to that. Are you
Yeah.
a feminist? Yes.
No.
What does feminism mean to you?
Feminism means to me, I like Charlotte Bunch's definition. That is, it's a way of looking at the world. It's a perspective that differs from patriarchy, and that it includes women and others that patriarchy tends to exclude.
How and when did you know you were a feminist?
That's an interesting question, because I think at some level I probably knew that in elementary school, when I wanted to play baseball with the guys instead of having to go. We had sex segregated playtime in those days, and I didn't want to go play foursquare with the girls. I wanted to play baseball with the boys. And so I pitched a fit about that. Now, I wouldn't have had the terminology or the conceptual understanding that what I was doing was feminist. And then I think again in high school, when I recognized that even though I really wanted to run for class president, I was told I needed to run as class secretary, because that's what girls do. But it was probably as an undergraduate that I could really start putting the term and my way of looking at the world and my being together. And I joined now the National Organization for Women. I joined actually we had a campus chapter in those early days of NOW, and I started reading feminist theory.
Okay. So, that's a question that I recently came to ask myself, because I also, as I was writing those questions, I went through and tried to answer some of them, and I was like, how and when did I know I was a feminist? And I came to think, are we born? Because as long as I can remember,
I think my feminist behaviors preceded my ability to talk about my attitude, or as being feminist.
Sure. I think that's an interesting question. All right, next question. Did you have a moment when feminism became a word that not only spoke to you, but spoke of your existence, spoke you into existence? How did you know that?
I think the very first time that happened occurred when I was a senior as an undergraduate, and I had been nominated for one of the 10 outstanding graduating seniors at my university, and I was in the interview process, and one of the persons on the interview team asked me what being a member of NOW meant, National Organization for Women, and whether I was a feminist. And it, I think that's when it occurred to me, well, yes, of course I am. We didn't really bandy it about quite the same way we do now, partially because there were so few female faculty members in those days, even though I'm in a field that's female driven. But I think that was probably one of the first times I actually came to own the term and say that it applied to me, was in that interview.
What personal experience drew you to feminism? Why did you become a feminist? And who was the person that influenced your feminism?
Wow. Again, I had those early personal experiences of not understanding why I couldn't play ball or, do certain things that the guys were, be president of the class, whatever the guy, I felt like, well, hey, if I've got skills, why can't I do it? Kind of thing. I didn't see why there had to be a gender barrier. I think I became more of a feminist after I finished my master's degree, and I taught high school for a few years before I went back and did my PhD, and it was coming face to face with the real lack of equity in the workforce. The pay differential and the things I was expected to do that the guys weren't expected to do, chaperone dances and serve as faculty sponsor for organizations and so forth, where the men could just go home, and not do things. The person that influenced my I'm kind of like Bell Hooks. I think it was more the books I read than it was an actual person. Because I went through school at a time when we didn't have feminist classes. We didn't have. Now, I did try to study. There was Margot Norris, who taught. She was one of the few female faculty members in my undergraduate experience. And I remember taking any class she taught just because she was one of the few female faculty members. But we never really did feminist analysis. It was just that I think she brought a woman's perspective to whatever English course I was taking that she was. I even took a course in linguistics with her one time, and I had no interest in linguistics whatsoever. But if Margot was teaching it, I was gonna take it. So I think that kind of oblique role modeling might have occurred, but it really was when I started reading second wave feminist. I'm like, these women speak to me. Now I have found my community. Then when I was an assistant professor in New England, I had the most wonderful opportunity to be a research associate at the Five College Women's Studies Research Center in 1993 at Mount Holyoke College. And I think that sealed the deal. And it was just the community of women. I can't point to any one particular woman, but it was just the first time I had been around 20 other like-minded feminist scholars from all different disciplines, from all over the country. And so that really kind of sealed the deal. From that point on, I was an ardent practitioner of feminist pedagogy and feminist theory.
So you would say your mentors would be more like, you learn more from books than...
Yeah. We didn't have as many role models in those days.
Because you were the one starting the...
Yeah.
Right. what type of feminism do you define yourself to?
I'm a radical feminist. I rarely get to practice it, but
that was fast.
But I'm a radical feminist.
And how do you incorporate feminism in your everyday life?
Well, it informs all the teaching that I do. Even when I don't teach women's studies courses, I still incorporate feminist pedagogy in all I do. It informs my scholarship. It directs the kind of lens that I use to read text. As I was mentioning in class today, it informs my commercial consumer choices. I boycotted Pepsi after Beyonce sold her body to capitalism. And so, in small ways, you know, I mean, I'm not... I think in terms of activism, I certainly, participate in efforts that curb violence against women, and I'm involved in the Women's Studies program. I sit on the advisory board, and I actively try to help other women at the university. I try to do for them what wasn't done for me. And that's a kind of activism. I mean, that to me, that's practicing activism in my work environment. And I try to be a good role model for students. I try to give students permission and space to practice their feminism.
Can you give an example of a time when you did not put up with something that was against your feminist principles?
Besides not buying Pepsi products. Not buying Pepsi products. Well, I have defied certain teaching practices that I felt were not feminist pedagogy or that I felt penalized women. I don't give exams, for example, which I consider a masculinist mastery type approach that's oppositional to women's ways of thinking and knowing and being. Let me just put that down. I don't know what that is. Sorry. See, this is Brenda calling about your student loans. I have no student loans, thank you very much. Those robocalls.
Yeah.
Let me think. I haven't really done anything. I mean, other than just my little bouts of defiance at the university. I probably didn't get promoted to administrative posts that I wanted because I didn't compromise my feminism. I didn't join the old boys network and turn a blind eye to practices that I didn't think were in the best interest of education or in the best interest of students. So in a sense, by not doing certain things, by not playing by the old boys rules, I've probably short-circuited my career advancement. Which kind of leads into your next question. Because, yes, every day upper administration here makes decisions and policies that I feel are not in keeping with my feminist principles. Needless to say, national politics right now defies everything in my feminist principles, and I am actively seeking to flip Congress in November of 2018.
Okay. Well, how do you think and communicate work as a feminist?
Well, I'm pretty explicit about it. I put it in my syllabus so students know that's what they are going to encounter. I've been really explicit about it in my committee work, and that probably hurt me in some ways. I identify my scholarship as such. I've even been so bold as